All right, hola guys, que paso? How's everyone doing? This is Hala Pablo. Thank you for tuning in. Real quick, brief update on Bitcoin. Skip all the introductions, get right into it, like you know I like to do. Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the ice, aren't we? Yeah, so we just had like a liquidity drive, didn't we? It was like almost like a liquidity raid. If we put it on the micro, we could see exactly what happened. All of this was anticipated. I told you guys to anticipate short squeezes, liquidity runs as we get to the end of this symmetrical structure. And of course, there's a lot of anomalies that clue us in to the market makers. Basically, what they're doing, what they're trying to hide, what you're trying to do surreptitiously. But with the volume, with the synergy between volume and price action, we kind of get little clues here and there of what they're doing. One of the things, just kind of give you a little hack of what you can do. It's not always apparent. Remember, these guys are very, very smart. They're very, very good at what they do, and they try to hide their footsteps from not only from retail, from us, but from other market makers, because they want the lion's share of the liquidity. When it comes time to translocate liquidity, it's all about outfoxing the other entity. So, but one of the things we can look at is where we have this linear area here, right, or this lateral area of price action. We're kind of like, we were wondering, is this accumulation, or is this a distribution? Like, is this going to put another top up? I guess it could only be reaccumulation, or it could be distribution. And so we're trying to figure out what it is, but there's little telltale signs that it is distribution. And one of them, to me, was the most obvious that I saw yesterday, was this little area right here. I'll circle it. This little thing that it looks inconspicuous. This looks like innocuous, right? It's just, like, what is this? It's just a little, what is this? 1, 2, 3 candles, four candles, a little drive up. But if you look at the volume, look how as the price goes up, even in this little tiny area that seems insignificant, right here, this is the smoking gun right here. You see where the demand is decreasing. Look at the divergence there. Okay, that is what clues you in. And then we follow it a little further. Of course, we need more than just this little sign. So we look, and then we have these two big, gigantic, larger than average demand spikes. And then we look up. So this is a lot of effort. And we're going to look at the corresponding result. We see a real meager result here. And then we had another one, and we see such a large upper shadow. We knew that this was a liquidity grab. It came up here to like wipe out all of the short stops and come back down, take all the liquidity. And we know this from this huge upper wick, and it fell right back down to underneath the microtrend resistance line of this symmetrical structure. And we see the same thing. Really, we're seeing that all along the microtrend resistance here, where the price is just ripping up to snatch the liquidity up in this area. We see it from very, very large demand here, but you see all this demand produced a failure to rally. We see failure to rally after failure to rally above microtrend resistance. Here's another one. Look at this. Look at this humongous volume spike in buying pressure, and it produced a failure to rally past this point. And so this keeps in line with this trend that comes down all the way from here. Remember, a few videos back, this is where we did the fractal in the fractal range analysis. This whole fractal here, this inverted head and shoulders, is playing out in different time zones, and this seems to be the modus operandi of the market maker ever since we had that last pump. So that's on the micro. So yeah, we're anticipating more and more of these liquidity runs as we get closer and closer to the confluence of this structure. And then we look here at this microtrend support line, and we basically see the same thing. We're seeing supply come in at these double bottoms. despite all of this demand, look at all this demand that we see coming in at the bottom, and yet it produces to put anything over this. This would be trading range. This would be TRS, or trading range support. So it's obeying the governance within these two horizontal lines, which are not trends. These are trading range, resistance, and support lines. And regardless of the volume of demand coming in, it's not producing rallies that you would expect from this volume or this magnitude of demand. We see the same thing here. Here we didn't even have much. We had low demand. So yeah, and then here again, yeah, we just looked at this. We have an anomaly with effort and result, which is weakness. Now we're getting very, very large upper shadows. So as we get closer and closer to this confluence, and then we look at this rising wedge-like pattern that it's forming, I'm expecting another drop to the to possibly retest trading range support or even go lower now. And so now we go to the macro, and we look at these schematics, and this falls right in line. See, it's like a big puzzle. You just gotta, it's like a story. You gotta piece it together, and the plot becomes clearer and clearer. We are en route to a collision with the ICE. The ICE, of course, is the anchored VWAP. We anchored the VWAP in both of these cycles. This first cycle that occurred 21 years ago. I'm sorry, 21 years ago. 2021, the year 2021. It was 4 years ago. For this buying climax, we anchored the VWAP, or the ICE, to the all-time high here, and we see it going through this dual cycle schematic. Now, notice the secondary test. This is the second all-time high that it made that year, and where the price action came down and broke through the ICE of this local top here. It broke through the ICE, and this was the big break of structure that I think we're heading towards right now. Whether or not it's going to break the structure this time around remains to be seen. I'm not saying that we're going to break it, but the way it's looking, the way the algorithm's been playing out, the way it's been going so far, especially when we see the replication of the waves from subcycle B and the current cycle at this UTAD, we see a bunch of similarities with the horns. We see the two-horn top coming in at precisely the same kind of time as it did, producing, as it were, a gigantic head and shoulders. And we see the price action, the series of LPSYs distributing. I think it's inevitable of this kind of collision course that we see here, that happened here, happening at some point. Now, what we just looked at in the micro, this rising wedge is going to break. And we see the bias is one of distribution. We saw that with the anomalies when we just looked at all this. Remember, we looked at the diminishing demand on the upthrusts, and so yeah, all of that are just telltale signs or harbingers of further pullback. And so we're anticipating this coming down and having a collision course with the ICE as it did here, and quite possibly going below it, and going below. Like, where it's going to happen is going to be the confluence of the anchored VWAP and this macro trend support line, kind of like what happened here. We have the collision course with the anchored VWAP and the macro trend support. And if we go beneath it, then we're going to have several attempts of the bulls trying to get back up over the ICE and back up above the macro trend support line. And if they're not able to, we're going to have a rejection here, and this whole area is going to prove to be a redistribution like it did 4 years ago. So what we're looking at is in the next few days, contact with the ICE. A big battle is going to take place. The bears are probably going to prevail just because it's been overwhelmingly bearish. The sentiment has been with the geopolitical climate, with the tariffs and all of that. There's a lot of fear. So I think we're still going down. If we get pushed down underneath the macro trend support line in the ICE, there's going to be a huge effort, a huge fight like there was here. This is a big battle, guys, that is going to try to get back up over the ICE and prevail above the MAC trend resistance. And if it's not able to, then we're going to have a conclusive rejection, kind of like we saw here, where I circled it in pink. And this is the signaling of potentially a big, the major macro bear cycle that could come into play if the bulls don't hold ground in this area. We're going down, and we're going to see a proper ABC on the macro A, B, C, which is what we are basically primed for if this doesn't happen. A, B, and C. As far as C goes down, it just depends how deeply we can go, but that's if we can't prevail back over this MAC trend resistance. And if it proves to be resistance, then yeah, the bulls are going to have a real hard time regaining ground, saving face, especially with all the trade wars and the tariffs and everything. And then the fear is just going to be incredible at that point, especially if we go down. So we break anywhere below, say, 70. If we go beneath 75, that's going to be this sweet spot area here. And then whatever happens is going to prove whether this is a redistribution or it's going to be an accumulation, and we get back up. If the bulls can get back up and establish support above this macro trend support line, then perhaps we could be looking at another all-time high later this year. But if not, I think we're going. You better put on your scuba gear because we're going down. The good news is that affords wonderful prices for those who are in cash, like me and many in my group that have been in cash since January, because the signs of the times are there. We're going off the algorithms of subcycle B, and so we'll see what happens. In any case, this major resistance line here has never been tested from the top down, and so either way you slice it, there's going to be a big battle. There's going to be a war taking place in this area here. And certainly on the micro, it looks like this is going to be a redistribution. So I think we're gonna go back down. They were just wanting to grab some liquidity before they do it, like they've been doing incrementally along the the micro trend resistance line. We can expect more of the same unless something changes. And I'll let you know if I see anything. Like, subscribe if you get anything out of these videos. Check out our Discord trading group if you'd like to take your chart reading, price analytical skills up a notch. We'll be happy to have you. I keep it extremely affordable. Learn how to read price action with the way the banks do it, the way smart money does it, with just trend lines, support lines, trend micro support, macro support with a VWAP. That's really all you need to make a ton of money in these markets. We've been making I've had people in my group. We've been shorting since January, and they can attest to it. They can come on here and just bear witness to that fact. So anyway, if not, subscribe by all means. I'll try to keep you safe, continue to keep you safe. I'm going to get going. I got a lot to do. May God bless you. Thank you so much for your subscription, and grace to you. And I look forward to hearing from some of you in the comments, and even more, some of you who are real serious about making serious money in crypto and learning how to read charts the right way, securely, so you could sleep at night and be prosperous at the same time. Check us out in our Discord. God bless you all. We'll talk to you soon. Adios. Bye-bye.